What bigger insult to the sacred order of old than to turn one of their most hallowed sites of dedication to the Force into your own personal grand palace of residence? This is what His Imperial Majesty the Emperor has done for the past 2 decades. So you know what? I think it's time we take a tour of this place. So allow me to be your guide and just don't tell the Red Guard. Welcome to oh, that's not right. Come on, let's get that out of here. That's better. That's more like it. Welcome to the vast, sprawling Eukaminopolis, the centre of galactic commerce and the beating heart of the empire that is Coruscant. A grand, bustling hive with a population count that dwarfs any and all other planets in one big planet-sized city, which is what a Eukaminopolis is, but that's all for another video. Today, we are taking a look at one of the most interesting buildings that the planet has on its surface, the Imperial Palace, formerly a holy place of devotion to the Force. The Jedi Temple has seen no shortage of action over its 1,000-year history. Many Jedi once roamed the great halls and vast labyrinthian corridors of this building, being a place of solace and refuge, holding many untold secrets in the ways of the Force, and training generation after generation of galactic peacekeepers to help bring the galaxy to enlightenment. That was then. This is now. The Jedi, however, seemingly went rogue according to high-ranking Republic officials, plotting against the Republic and leaving the now seemingly self-appointed Emperor with no choice but to impart Imperial justice upon the conspirators. You know, I've always thought something never really added up with that narrative. I'm sure it's nothing. Following the Jedi's disappearance, Palpatine wasted no time converting their temple into his own personal palace. No renovation needed, just stick some Imperial banners on the side and he has got himself the galaxy's biggest, lavish and most insulting home. You'll find the palace located in the heart of the Imperial City's Federal District alongside the horrifically brutal Naval Intelligence Headquarters and Compnor Arcology, or the Commission for the Preservation of the New Order. Not a very catchy name, but it's basically just the ISB headquarters, the palace being the far more elegant centrepiece of this grand triangle. It is an enormous kilometre-high building, packed to the brim with floors upon floors that hold secrets you could not even begin to comprehend. So what did the Emperor do to the galaxy's former pinnacle of elegance? Well, for a start, the entire place has been stripped from ceiling to floor of anything and everything you can think of relating to the Jedi. Paintings and tapestries gone, plinths gone, statues and monoliths gone, the historical sacred text of the archives gone, any ancient paraphernalia gone. The Emperor's agents were extremely thorough in their cleansing of any items relating to the now bygone order, with the interior of the building becoming a bit of a shell of its former self, an entirely different world, one where it is hard to imagine that many thousands of Jedi once lived here, the ultimate symbol of Imperial control and historical alteration, you could say. In their place, crystalline statues and paintings of Imperial insignia along with plenty of Imperial banners dominated the now dead halls, the architecture being the only thing remaining that would imply that the palace was once home to the Force users, with the interior now taking on that dark, sterile and uniform Imperial aesthetic we have all somehow grown accustomed to. I'm sure some of the galactic architects that are listening are just foaming at the mouth just to tell us how awful the Imperial style is, and fair enough, but just try telling that to the Emperor's face and you'll see how he likes it. I'm sure you'll get an electrifying response. Gone are the days of shining golden halls and lavish inviting interiors, because this is Palpatine's crib now, and an Emperor of the galaxy needs only the best and most expensive accommodations. So let's start at the very top in what used to be the old council chambers, with the High Council Chamber serving as the Emperor's throne room. Surrounded by 4 towers, these were named by the Jedi as the Tower of First Knowledge, the Tower of Reconciliation, and the Council Reassignment Tower, whatever those mean. The Emperor's throne room is massive, rather befitting of His Imperial Majesty, being the only place that he will grant an audience to anyone he wishes to meet. High-ranking officers, ruling council members, the Grand Vizier and Moff will all meet the Emperor here. Thrawn's first encounter with the big man was in here as well. You know, looking at him here, you don't really get the sense that this is the infamous Grand Admiral himself. Looks more like he just came out of a wild night of huffing death sticks.
Palpatine was not the only one given luxury accommodation. Much of his inner circle, yes, these old creeps, and Massa Amida were given their own luxury rooms to stay in, feeling very cushy in their grand suites while the rest of us fight this war in sleeping bunks that are as tough as the floor we walk on. Held to the side of the chamber was a garden, which is of the Emperor's own design, and is filled with a variety of different plants and tree types. And okay, listen, I'm sorry, but do you really see this old dried up raisin in a towel here, watering the plants and looking after them and making sure they grow to full health? And that's probably going to get me in trouble with the ISB.
Speaking of gardens, the temple roof below the spires was once a grand training ground used by many Jedi to practice lightsaber techniques and brush up on their forms, with the ancient great tree residing here. And in what is probably the most saddening turn of events, this voice-attuned plant was cut down and removed, being the last ultimate Jedi symbol that reflected their deeper connection to nature. Now gone, the once great branches are now most likely being held somewhere for Imperial experimentation. Who knows? The Jedi Archives, overseen by Jedi Jocasta Nu, this information centre housed the great timeline of Jedi history and galactic lore. It did surprisingly not see immediate destruction, with Palpatine even allowing the Grand Inquisitor to visit and study up on some Jedi techniques to learn about their ways. This would not last, however, as the ISB in their ruthlessness eventually were given the green light to make short work of removing all of the essential data relating to almost all of the history of the Jedi Order, with the most crucial information residing here being the location of Force-sensitive children in the galaxy. Do not be fooled by the seeming inherent tranquility of this place. It still was in large part a fortress, and fortresses need defences. The Jedi Temple Guards fulfilled this role in their own sort of enigmatic standing in the corner and brooding kind of way. These guys did not hesitate to cut down anyone threatening the palace, and would defend the Order and its members if it was the last thing they did, forgoing any and all emotional attachment in servitude of this prestigious duty. It was for sure a jump in rank from the knights they once were, a role demanding their lifelong commitment.
Huh, that sounds familiar. That rather reminds me of the Red Guard.
Like the Temple Guards before them, the Red Guard have turned the vast great halls of the palace into their own personal paradise. Creating a nigh unimpenetrable fortress, they make sure no floor tile goes unturned, as every nook and cranny of the building is protected in their borderline psychopathic servitude to the Emperor, and they will make sure that anyone and everyone unauthorized shall never step a foot outside the palace should they enter, at least not without their life anyway, being far more vicious and cruel than the Temple Guard. So I wouldn't be getting any funny ideas. Every Empire Day, the Grand Imperial Ball is held. This is a huge, lavish get-together in which all high-ranking officers and Imperial associates can immerse themselves in the galaxy's biggest congratulatory echo chamber. This celebration takes up the entire palace grounds. Think grand banquets, drinks and beverages galore, and all the amenities one could gorge themselves upon. This event demands formality, as officers typically pull together their best get-up in order to look as dashing as possible, as the usual Imperial egocentric frame of mind also accompanies the officers through the door of the palace when this thing takes place. What is Empire Day? Well, it is a mandatory celebration, if that's what you want to call it, commemorating the day Palpatine swore himself in as Emperor and beat back the corruption of the Republic and invading separatist forces. And for those that have to attend this constant reminder of that day, let's be honest,
It's basically a free-for-all, for each of them to get their own slice of that pie and flaunt their own morally dubious achievements and tell everyone about that cool war crime they just committed last week. So, you know what? I've had my fill of this place, so I think it's about time we conclude this lesson. The history of this building is as vast as it is turbulent, holding a great many secrets that we may just never be able to uncover. From the days of the Jedi Order to the now hollow and callous rule of the Imperial Emperor, this is a building that once held sacred value to so many, and has now been converted into a symbol of all that the Empire stands for. So, to start your journey into the Empire today, please leave a like, comment and subscribe, and with that, long live the Empire, and may the Force be with you.